Greetings, travellers, and welcome back to the ESL Legendary Series here in Katowice, Poland. Lothar, how's my pronunciation?
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. You can go on.
So I am here with Lothar and Nick Aquablad Secker, fellow member of the UK Casters Mafia, and a new face to the Casters desk, but probably not a new face to most of you at home. Mr. Elki, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello guys, so I'm Elki, I'm a professional poker player, and before I was the first European pro gamer in South Korea to play StarCraft, and now I'm a member of Team Liquid for Hearthstone.
So you keep it classy with the Liquid, right? Because they're known from the StarCraft community.
Yes,
right?
I mean it made the most sense because they are the huge community, and I was following them when I was playing back then too, so it makes the most sense.
Good to have you here.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Welcome to the desk. So we just saw, you and I, Lothar, we saw an excellent game together, but Nick and Elki, I'm not sure if you guys caught any of that matchup. Any standout moments for you two?
I caught most of the game. The most interesting part of that match for me was the Patron versus Druid, and Silvername forced an early combo from the Druid player, and I thought, wow, that's an amazing position to be in, but ultimately it didn't actually matter. If I'm correct, the Druid player actually won that game, didn't he?
Yeah, the Druid was able to rebuild afterwards and just threaten the damage without the combo in the end. But Lothar, why don't you tell us a little bit now about this matchup that we have coming up for us?
This is like one of the unknown matches that we will have today, right? Because we have new names in the tournament that were brought to the tournament from open qualifiers. So we have Elscouta and Lucky Shadow, and from what I know, is that basically that's it. That's what we know about the players yet. And I'm really eager to see the classes, to see the deck choices that it will bring to the tournament, because that will say something about themselves too, right? We know that Elscouta is Spanish, Lucky Shadow is French.
Elscouta is Costa Rica. No, wait.
Lucky Shadow is Costa Rica.
Lucky Shadow is Costa Rica.
And Elscouta is French. We do have 3 Spanish representatives in this tournament.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, I know, there's a lot of Spanish players, which is great to see the Spanish scene kind of flourish and get to a major event like this. But Lucky Shadow represents Costa Rica, and of course that's a scene we don't see a lot of or get a lot of exposure to, so maybe he brings something from his metagame to this tournament and maybe can surprise us.
It's like the Chinese scene, you think? That they always play something odd in their decks and they will bring it to the table here. Like, well, it's not Reno Jackson anymore. I don't want everyone.
Well, they
uses
love
that,
Demon
right?
Zoo over there. I've always seen Demon Zoo come from the Chinese scene. They do love their Zoolock, so maybe maybe Lucky Shadow's got something awesome. Like maybe he's bringing a surprise which will catch his opponents off guard, and that's what you want to do in the first round of a tournament. You want to catch your opponent off guard,
especially in Conquest format, right?
Oh,
because your opponent, when you win with a deck and it's been locked, you don't use it anymore. So that caught off guard moment is worth more than in last year standing, right? Because you done the job, you won with the deck, and it doesn't really matter if you'll have it again or not. Right?
Sure. Elki, I think you've
That's
had
if you win with it, but if you lose, then it's like...
Right.
Yeah.
You can play again, right?
I think
you play to win.
I think you in particular, Elki, have had a bit of experience recently where you go into a tournament setting and maybe people don't know quite what to expect from you. Like, is that something that you play it up to? Do you think it's
sure,
an
definitely I
advantage?
have an edge because like they don't really know how I play, and
Right.
I was watching all of them like in the Hearthstone World Championship and stuff, so I have more information. But at the end, like if they're a better player, even though they don't know how I play, it's still like it's still difficult to win, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But definitely some minor advantages that you can exploit for being kind of a lesser known player, having that concealed information about your stuff. So that's an advantage that both of these players, of course, have available to them. But this has been kind of a long-term story going on now, Nick. I know it's something that you're quite interested in, like the evolution of the European Hearthstone scene.
Well, since the start of 2016, the main storyline for the EU is up-and-coming players. New players are getting into the spotlight, they're winning qualifiers, the pro players are starting to say, oh, hang on, who are these guys? How have they taken our spots? But it just goes to show the quality of European players, and it's an exciting time for Hearthstone. It's an exciting time to become a professional player or make that reach into the pro scene. If you're just at home and you play a lot and you're good on ladder, maybe this is your time to shine and get out there and actually get into a major event like this ESL Legendary Series.
But this is only the way of like putting your foot into the door.
Exactly.
Right? Then you need to work even more than before if you want to be, of course, a professional player, right? You need to get a team, you need to get a contract, you want to be that contracted player and have the luxury to say, I'm a pro player.
And this is the starting point. Orange is a perfect example of a player who started here and look where he is now. So there's plenty of opportunities for these young up-and-coming players to become professional players, and that's really exciting for the community, in my opinion.
Yeah, That's awesome.
And they've already proven a huge point just by being here in the first place. You know, to get here in the first place, they've had to come through an enormous bracket, you know, possibly going 8-0, 8-1, that sort of record, to even be here in the top 8 of the tournament. So they've already achieved a lot just by getting here. They've proved they're competent players, but making that kind of statement, as you said, Lothar, not often enough. You have to go on and make the big win.
Yep, that's true. And now we're going into the pick and ban phase, sorry. But we know that Elscouta banned Mage class, while Lucky Shadow banned the Druid.
Interesting. So Mage and Druid being banned out there. Anything from those bans that jump out at you?
Well, the Mage ban, after seeing what Freeze Mage did the last game, might have been kind of, oh, I don't want to face that. You know, I just want to keep away from that Freeze Mage. Druid, on the other hand, Druid is a deck that has tremendous consistency. And even though a lot hasn't changed with the deck over time, it still finds that consistency without any alterations. So it's a deck that can adapt to the meta game. What do you think about these bans, Elky?
Yes, I think maybe like, because I play a lot of Zoo actually, and maybe Lucky Shadow is playing Venolock more than Zoo, because if you had like a Zoo, you kind of like the Druid matchup because you're favored a bit, but Venolock is probably like, Druid is the toughest opponent if you have Venolock, because you can just do like 25 damage in one turn easily, like most of the time, so it's probably easy playing Zoo.
Yeah, I think the other standout there is that we're seeing a Priest in the lineup, which is one of the more uncommon classes at this point. We talked recently in recent tournaments, casters have talked about how Hunter was kind of the forgotten class, but recently Hunter's made a comeback. People have been being successful with Face Hunter on ladder, Jackie Chan taking the Camel Hunter to rank 1, so it's kind of left Priest almost as the forgotten brother of the Hearthstone family. But interesting that it's brought in, but you know, it's a thing that you can bring in for what reasons, Lothar?
Well, the thing about Priest in general is the fact that it's a class that reacts to the metagame. It's not the class that drives the attention to a certain deck. It just reacts to how the metagame shapes. And we'll see what kind of deck is being brought by Elscouta.
Indeed, we're about to get into the game. Looks like Zoo versus some variety of Warrior Game 1. I'll hand it over to Lothar and the boys to take this one through.
Thank you, Sobel. See you later.
So these opening hands, a Flame Imp at the start for Elscouta, a nice aggressive minion to start with. On the other hand, Lucky Shadow does have Armor Smith and Acolyte Pain, so he has a nice curve. What do you think of these hands, Elky?
Yeah, it's kind of dream hands for both. I mean, like only the imp, but the 1-drop is definitely the most important, because then you can like go into the other ones, and like I think Armor Smith and Acolyte is also what you want to get. I'm not sure if you kind of want to toss Acolyte for a weapon, depending if he knows he's playing against Zoo or not.
Yeah, you can't really be certain what kind of deck your opponent is playing at
this
point.
It's very difficult at this point of the tournament, because like basically like Mulligans is gonna be, for some decks, for Zoo it's kind of more straightforward because you want obviously like 1-2 free drops, but for like Warrior it depends so much of like the deck you're playing against. Like if you play against, especially Warlock is probably the most difficult class, just because there's like Venolock and Zoos are both very good.
Different type of openers, right? Yeah, exactly. Good point. So for Warrior, it's not a good opening class, I would say, the Warrior, right? Because usually you want the weapons, of course, but some matchups are just not requiring the weapons in the beginning of the game, and you want more cycle, right? So definitely the Warrior class has a easier opening. And look at that, an Ardent Squire in the opening hand for Warlock. Interesting addition to the usual Zoo decks, right? Because usually nowadays we don't see the Ardent Squire so often as we did, right?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good in the mirror match, and also against Shaman and Paladin, of course, because you can trigger the secret without getting traded. It's like it's really good against all the Paladin and Shaman early game. It's just so sticky.
Ardent Squire is a card that popped up a lot in the Wombology side event. Some of the pro players from SK, LC, different teams like that were starting to use it, and we were kind of having the same situation. We're like, what's this guy doing here? Why is she back? Like, but it seems like the pro players seem to like this card. Like you said, it's good against Paladin. You can usually 2-for-1 for it, especially with Abusive Sergeant. You can hit stuff like Knife Juggler. So I think that's why it's gained popularity once again.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome spots. Even like when you like have board control, but you're threatened life-wise, if you have like Ardent Squire and Argus, it's pretty good, really good combo, because then it's like takes 3 attacks from your opponents to damage your face, right? If you have another minion, so it's
actually that's a very good point with the Defender Argus, because it creates a mini bot.
Yeah,
with
taunted one.
Yeah, so that's a good deal.
Especially because when Zoo you usually have board control, you can make like the perfect trade every time, because that's kind of like the point of Zoo is to get the board and then to trade like in your favor every turn.
Yeah. Speaking of Argus, it is in Elscouta's hand, so potentially if this shield doesn't get popped, he will get that taunted shielded mini-bot in the future. However, Lucky Shadow doesn't have that weapon. We've already discussed how important that weapon is, the fight against Zoo.
This is the most important card to have at all in this. Like in this particular matchup, you need some form of board control, and weapon guarantees you favorable trades, because it's in most situations it's 2 for 1. You can also trigger the Death Spite Whirlwind effect after the Hunted Creeper is killed, in example, because of the definitely triggers when they were played, right? So you can get more board control even by having that in mind. So missing the weapon will cost Lucky Shadow dearly.
Even especially more so against Zoo, because they have a lot of one-hand minions, or like the Death Bite is so important, like against the Implosion, or like or the Abusive Sergeant, or like Argent Squire, the Whirlwind effect is so, the Death Barrel is so strong.
He does have a Whirlwind in hand, so that is available to him if an Implosion does come down in the future. But however, the Death Spite weapon itself leverages the board so much, it's really crippling for the Warrior to not find it. And Fiery War Axe is another one, like Lofar said, it's 2 for 1 almost every time. And at the start of the game, the Warrior's health is a nice resource you can use with these weapons to gain control of the board against a Zoo player, but without them, you can get overwhelmed very easily.
Yes, for sure. I mean, especially because like now, like he has no way to insert the juggler, so he's just gonna get damaged for the next 2 turns unless he wants to use his Whirlwind.
Yeah,
but Whirlwind is very valuable resource in the Patron Warrior, because it's a synergy with like so many minions, with the Acolyte, the Armor Smith, and the Patron, of course. So I'm not sure if he wants to use it now.
Even if you want to use the Whirlwind before the Patrons on board, then you want to queue it up with a second effect, like a second Whirlwind, a Death Spider, or whatever can help you to clean up the board.
Yeah, you usually don't want to use a Whirlwind just to kill like 1 or 2 minions too, because it's so valuable, right?
But in this situation, I feel like he's being pushed to use it. Inner Rage, Whirlwind, and Acolyte of Pain just beg to be played here, and just clean up the Knife Juggler.
Yeah, that's a way he could do it. I mean, he could go for the Inner Rage on
Armor Smith,
and then get a Battle Rage off as
but
well.
Then he can't kill the Knife Juggler. Knife Juggler is pretty. It's a minion that snowballs pretty fast, actually. If it stays alive for 2-3 turns, it's like so much damage. It seems pretty innocent, like 1 or 2 damage, right? But especially with Zoo, because they have cheap minions, it's like 2-3 more damage every turn. It's like really fast.
Wow, he goes for the greedier play.
He just wants to find... If he finds a weapon, though, if he finds a Fiery War Axe...
There's only 2 Fiery War Axes right now, right? So there's, like, usually...
Slam answers it. So he took the gamble there with the draw, like you said, going for the greedier play. He is rewarded with the Slam, clearing up that Knife Juggler, and now the board is in Lucky Shadow's control.
And he has already the Patron and the Whirlwind, so turn 6 looks promising. What he just needs to do is gain some cards for the upcoming turns, and he has the Acolyte of Pain just to fulfill that hole in the next turn, right?
So that is an interesting spot from Elscouta. Has to see if he wants to use Implosion or like a Squire and a Sergeant.
I like the Implosion here. You get the 1/1s down, you do demand an answer like a Whirlwind or a Death Spite effect, and if the shield doesn't get dealt with, he can drop another Squire and then Argus in the middle of them and have 2 Divine Shield 2/2 taunts, which will be very problematic for Lucky Shadow. And that Fiery War Axe shows up a little bit too late, but I don't think it's ever too late with Warrior at this point, because it will still leverage the board for you.
Yeah, he still has quite a lot of health. It's not like it's in a bad spot.
So you think that it's just a turn for Acolyte Hero Power, Acolyte and Weapon to have the tempo for next turns available, because you basically save mana by using it this turn, right? You don't need to kill the 1/1. I like the popping the Divine Shield right now, but it telegraphs next turn, right? It just says to your opponent, okay, I have a Patron and Whirlwind, or at least a Whirlwind, but it's perfect turn.
At least a Ghoul, but does they play Ghoul now? They play Ghouls usually, right?
Yeah, they do, but would you like to play it in this situation? I don't think so.
You've got a good situation with Elscouta here where you can Abusive one of your 1/1s to clear the Acolyte of Pain, and then you can buff up two of them with Argus, and it does play around part of that whirlwind effect that Lucky Shadow has telegraphed, like you said. So it is a nice answer to it. I don't know if I like tapping. He's hovering over the tap here. You want to keep building on the board, keep putting pressure on. The problem with tap is you're slowing yourself down, and you can't give Patron Warrior an opportunity to fight back.
You need minions that already have 2 or 3 attack on board if you want to have a chance to clean up the board afterwards, right? After the turn when the Patron and the Whirlwind will hit.
Yeah, was that why I was thinking maybe to keep the Surgeon to clear actually the Patron, because the Surgeon is a good boost, because then if you have any minion on board you can like clear 1 Patron. And if you use it now it's gonna be like, now it's gonna have 2 Patrons, and it's basically I'm gonna have no way to kill any of them.
Yeah, I agree completely with that.
I guess he could Argus Surgeon to kill 1, but that's like...
But is the Sergeant gonna stick around?
He's gonna die, yes.
Yeah,
so
with
he can't clear the Patron now. Luckily for him, though, Lucky Shadow doesn't have any other whirlwind effect that he can trigger in the next few turns at least.
But the minions itself are a huge threat, because most of the minions that Elscouta can play, they don't have more than 2 attack. So the Patrons will multiply on their own. They don't need the Innerate, they don't need the Whirlwind effect, they don't need the Dive Spot, whatever, right? So the Taskmaster or any other synergy from the deck. So it looks like a perfect situation for Lucky Shadow.
That's a very tough spot for Elscouta, because you want to play the Peddler to activate the egg, but then if you do that, then like for sure it's gonna get 1 more Patron for free, right? For your opponent. So it's, and also there is a high chance that you can't even activate the egg.
Yeah, that's true. And Lucky Shadow still has a Dr. Boom in hand for turn 7, right?
Oh yeah, so we can just slam that down. He could potentially build more Patrons now, depending on what comes off this Dark Peddler, but Elscouta felt like he had to tap. He felt he was in a kind of a tight spot. I don't know what he was looking for, but having all those 2 attack minions don't interact with the Patrons well at all. And Dr. Boom to follow up on top of that as well. There's a lot of power on board for Lucky Shadow.
Yeah, this doesn't look good. He just played 2 attack minions, two attack minions into Patrons. That's not something that, you know,
well, luckily for him, he can only pop 1 Patron because the other one is back to 2 health. But it's still a pretty bad spot for Elscouta now, because there's like 3 Patrons, 1 Boom and 2 Boom bots against 1 egg, and
yeah, that's pretty bad. 3 Patrons, Dr. Boom and the Boom bots, and all Elscouta has to fight the board with is an egg with nothing to activate it apart from the Argus, and which doesn't interact with Patrons either. So Elscouta is being locked out of this game by just the power on Lucky Shadow's board.
Yeah, this all comes down to the turn when he didn't use the Outrun Defender, and he tapped instead. That was the turn that was so important.
He played incredibly passive, and he was punished because it gave Lucky Shadow an opportunity to build this board he has now. Ooh. That's an amazing draw right there.
That's probably the card that's going to end Elscouta's dream. It's like really perfect in this situation.
So do you favor whirlwinding first or attacking with the bombs first? Because you deal the damage to the minions, right? So basically the attack from the bombs is the same. But you might not have...
Oh wow,
that's the best outcome, right?
Yeah, I think you always want to attack with the bombs, probably, you know?
I think in this situation you take the big game at the down to 1, and they're all at 1 health. So this Whirlwind is going to devastate Elscouta's board, and Lucky Shadow is going to be in a dominating position going forward here.
A terrible outcome for Elscouta, but...
And that's a concede. It's like, I'm not going to deal with it.
There's no way you can come back from that.
But even if the bomb didn't hit that way, he had execute in hand, and then you could pop more Patron attacking the defender of Argus. So he still was in a great spot, even if the bombs didn't hit that way.
Completely agree. It wasn't looking good for Elscouta anyway. So first game goes for Lucky Shadow. He is winning with his warrior. We are playing Conquest. So the warrior is locked. We'll not see it again. And Elscouta will have a chance to reuse his deck or switch to another class. And judging the book by its cover, Lucky Shadow has Druid and Warlock too. So I would say that probably Elscouta will just keep playing with the Warlock, because if there will be a Druid, you want to have a Zoo in your pool, right? Against that deck.
I think so, yeah. If the Druid gets picked, he runs into the matchup, which is good for him. But Lucky Shadow can make a read here. He could think, will he just queue Druid again? Maybe I can queue in my Warlock deck, find a win for that. And then I have Druid last. to go against 3 decks, and I always like that situation in Conquest.
Okay. Well, we got an information actually. Elscouta is switching to his priest.
It's priest. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm really interested what kind of priest it is, because there are so many variations of that deck. They might be using Flash Heals, they might be using Light of Narus, they might not be using either of those. There are 2 Cabal Shadow Priests, 1 Cabal Shadow Priest, no Light Bombs, 2 Light Bombs, 1 Light Bomb. There's like so many different things that can be built into the priest. But interestingly enough, the sole inclusion of Entomb into the archetype of priest pushed the deck, the class, into curving out at 6 or 7 maximum. Because they rely on the opponent playing a big minion and just entombing that, right? So it switched kind of how the matchup is being played in general, every single matchup.
Yes, I agree. Like, Entomb is a really great card for priest, but that's still kind of like surprising that he takes it. If you ban mage, then you yeah, actually if Lucky Shadow bans the druid, he probably has a Reno lock. So then I think priest is not that great against Reno lock.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good point.
That's why it's kind of surprising for him to play priest, because then he has 50%. Against druid is probably even depending on the version. It depends a lot, but then it's like probably unfavored against Reno lock. So it's a surprising pick.
It's all raised an interesting point about priests. It's kind of like you said, that the forgotten deck at the moment. Hunter's coming back, priest has fallen off. But if you look back to when League of Explorers came out, priest was just blew up. Everyone's like, Entombed's great, Museum Curator. You know, priest had a lot of support from that expansion. But since the meta has become a lot more aggressive, which I think priest can respond to quite well, priest has kind of fallen off a little bit, which I find quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I just still think about the Reno Jackson. What you were telling Elky, because when Jaraxxus hits the board,
yeah, you can't win.
Priest is like helpless.
If you don't win the next turn, it's just like
it looks bad. Then you just can't. You don't rely on Shadow Word Deaths as much as it was before, right? Even with Light Bomb, you just deal with 1 wave, or there's Light Bomb. So we have some tells about how the priest is being built. Zombie Chow and Flash will give it away that it has the win condition to just burn down the enemy with Chasm Mystic. My God, Aukenai Soul Priest to finish off kind of in a Hunter-esque way, right? Because Flash Heal acts like a kill command for 1 mana if you combine that with the Aukenai Soul Priest, and it's a very good way to finish up the Reno Jackson.
Yeah, that's true. But it's also a great way to gain tempo sometimes, to clear the board, to get that board clear, or to get that heal on your minion.
Actually, it makes sense now that he picked the priest, because if you play Aukenai Soul Priest and Flash Heals,
yeah, with the Zombie Chow too, it's pretty surprising sometimes.
Yeah, and you can also build board presence, because you have a 1 mana clear for Ancient of Law. So this deck might actually be really okay against Druid as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think Priest is a good pick here. Just try and get that win. And like you said, it has a lot of burst potential, this Priest list with those Flash Heals and the Aukenai combo. Zombie Chows are going to be a great answer to a Zoolock if that's what he's expecting to play. So if Elscouta is reading, is just thinking he's probably going to bring Zoo, he's probably going to be pretty happy with this hand, having double Zombie Chow available.
Double Zombie Chow is always a good opening if you play against a deck that you assume is an aggro deck or board control deck, because it buys you time to develop your own hand, right, as a priest. And you need that, because you need to dig for those draw mechanics that you have in your deck.
The next turn for Lucky Shadow is probably going to tell a lot of information to Elscouta. If he hero powers, he's probably going to get a read that it might not be Warlock, or it's just the worst hand ever. If he plays Inkgang Boss, that's not enough information at this point. Farseer would probably be a better card to give that information out, so it looks like Elscouta is considering what this tap actually means at this point. Can he get a read on what this deck is?
But I think given the first tap, he already tells a lot, because like...
Well, it can be Zoo with a really bad opening.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention how many cards he kept, but if he keeps like 1 card and he can't play anything by turn 2, then for 100% sure it's not a Zoo, right? Because why would he keep a card that's higher cost than 3?
But this looks awesome. You have 2 Zombie Chows and an Aukenai already in hand. So you can just coin out Aukenai next turn, pressure your opponent, and change the Zombie Chows from unimportant cards to really oppressive and abusive minions, right? I would love to see the coin Aukenai Soul Priest this turn. just to maximize the damage. When you think about it, playing Aukenai gives you 2 kill commands on board. Next turn. Oh,
Plays on Hellfire as well. He couldn't Hellfire if Aukenai was on the board, and that would have been devastating if he had to.
You can't Hellfire when the...
You could just be like Hellfire Molten.
13 damage, what? What has happened?
Yeah, it's not a very good hand for Lucky Shadow. It's difficult. It's the difficult hand to play.
I think Implosion might be okay here. Maybe leverage the board a little bit with the 1/1s and just get some stuff done. You could just go for the Farseer, which trades into them quite nicely, but it's not mana efficient.
Yeah,
what do you think,
The
Lothar?
Implosion is kind of a gamble, sorry, because if he gets 2, it's just like game over, I think.
It's not game over,
it's not game over, but it's just like...
It doesn't look good, breaks your morale.
Really, really bad.
But I would probably go for the Implosion anyway. It's like, it's not still turn 5, so if the priest wants to clear the board after the Implosion, he needs to either use the coin with the Holy Nova or have another means of cleaning up the board, and the other option is probably just a Pyromancer, right? Nothing else comes to mind because there's no Aukenai circle for that.
I like that, because he's getting the heal effect instead of waiting for the Aukenai to come down. If he played Farseer then, he would have taken 10 damage from Zombie Chows. So maybe he's conscious that Aukenai is definitely a threat with those 2 creatures on board, and he deals with them.
That's a good point. Now the second Zombie Chow will get additional HP with the Flashlight already in hand. Wow, imagine if that damage from the first Zombie Chow would actually be dealt. There is so much burst, your opponent would have been at 18, and you have 5 damage in hand. Wow. And the Balance Chosen is also very important in this situation, because you have an option to use the Balance Chosen as a boosted minion, trade with something that the opponent will play on turn 5, and still heal your minion, so it poses a huge threat on the board, although it's just a 1-mana minion with an upgrade. That's about it. What do you think, Elki? Well, how do you evaluate that minion? It's like a Zombie Chow with Valence Chosen.
Yeah, it's super important to have 1 minion on board with Priest, because basically otherwise Valence Chosen is a dead card, because you can't Valence Chosen if the minion you just play, because it's so much chance that it just gets silenced and cancelled and you get a terrible trade. That was interesting here to see he played Sludge Belcher instead of Lotheb. I mean, obviously if you see Elscouta hand, you will play Lotheb, but then in general, would you play Lotheb instead of Belcher in the spot, or what's the balance between the two?
Lotheb does clear the Zombie Chow.
I mean, Lotheb was also sealing, like, practically making the coin lose value for turn 6, right? For turn 5. So
yeah, I think it's. I would have played it just because it protects against everything, against Valence Chosen, for example.
Shadow of Death as well.
Against like everything. Then you can get the trade 100% guaranteed next turn.
Yeah, playing Lothar would have had a stable 5/5 body, which wouldn't have been able to be dealt with. But now, if you look at the situation there, he clears the Belcher, gets the Aukenai down, and now it's a very awkward situation for Lucky Shadow. He doesn't have the removal he needs,
well, it's
unless he goes to Implosion Dark Bomb. But that's 2 cards to deal with 1, and he doesn't even get the max value. So things are a little awkward for him at this moment.
When you think about it, Implosion 2 damage for 2 minions is still not that bad. When you think about it, like. You would have to compare it to a Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah.
Which is better, probably. But
yeah, but when he gets a 3 or 4, when he gets 3 or 4, also like for the Zoo deck, I mean, of course, but like for the Zoo deck, you don't really have removal. Because in Zoo, you usually, it's like synergize so well with Zoo and with Warlock in general, just because it gives you minions to boost. You don't really want to just put a Dark Bomb in Zoo. So it's kind of like, has more value just because they don't have, Zoo doesn't have swipe, right? So it's like.
And now the draw engine will be used. The Pyromancer with the Secret of Healing and the Aukenai, with the Cleric will just give him so much card draw. And this is the important thing to be aware when you play against a Priest, because he can be low on cards and then poof, instantly he fills out his hand with just some combinations of weird stuff happening, like this one, like Cleric and Pyromancer. You thought that you were winning the attrition battle against the Priest, and then you suddenly have less cards in hand.
You get immediate value from this Cleric as well with the Circle of Healing, drawing those cards. And this is a control mirror, so you want to be able to have options in your hand to respond to Lucky Shadow. And as we pointed out before, Priest is a very reactive deck by nature anyway, especially the control variant. So being able to have multiple options in your hand to deal with whatever Lucky Shadow drops is always a plus. You don't want to burn out with a Warlock can just keep tapping.
Yes, especially because you don't have the burst. As Priest, you don't have the burst to like take the Warlock down early, so he can tap a lot. Like he tapped like, I don't know how many times Lucky Shadow tapped, at least 3 or 4 times already. So if you had the more aggressive class, then for sure the Warlock can't really tap. But now it doesn't really feel threatened.
Does the Loatheb just come down here as a 5/5 body, maybe protect against some spells? The Farseer is his choice here, and he's going to pass. What do you think of that, Loatheb?
I don't like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I like Loatheb, especially because he already has the Pyromancer and the Priest, the National Cleric on board. Then like spells are like so much valuable now for
Very
him,
good
right?
point, okay. Like this is the most important thing. Like the Holy Nova that he has in his hand brings so much value to the table. It's just insane.
Just like those, and also like yeah, because the Cleric is also Venus Chosen, so every spell is like basically kills 1 minion, draw 2 cards, and like heal for 2 and does 3 damage for just 1 card.
My only thought for Farseer is potentially baiting out an overextend from Elscouta and then getting a big Twisted Nether off. But as you can see there, the Holy Nova comes down instead, draws him a mass amount of cards, and he just drops a 1/2, and then he keeps the valuable minion from the Discovery in hand, so he doesn't have to play it. Elscouta is kind of in a position where he's dominating on board, and he doesn't really have to commit anything until Lucky Shadow finds a response to what's already being played on the field.
So guys, the goal for the Lucky Shadow is probably just to deal as much damage as possible with the Arcane Golem, but what's the maximum damage that he can deal? Is it 30?
30? 1 abusive, 1 overwhelming.
There's 1 Dark Peddler, right?
There is 1 Dark Peddler, so it's very much dependent on what that Dark Peddler does find him.
It's like 20 or 28 if he gets overwhelming, right?
Yeah, exactly. So at some point you need some board control to deal the missing damage, right?
Yes, for sure. I mean, also I can understand that Lucky Shadow has a Twisting Nether and you want to get max value out of it. But then the problem was like, maybe if Elscouta didn't have the Holy Nova, that would have been better. But now, even if he clears the board, like Elscouta has like, does he have 9 cards?
With the coin, right? But
yeah, he has 9 cards with the coin.
With the coin, is it?
Oh.
It is actually 9?
It's 9, right? Now it's 10.
3, 6, 9, 10, yes.
So it's
10.
like, you can refill the board with threats like instantly.
Which was the issue with Lucky Shadow. A few kind of passive plays early on in the game didn't give him any power on board to start fighting these minions, so Elscouta kind of snowballed out control on board, and then he just waited for that Twisted Nether, and now he just, like you said, replays more stuff, and now Lucky Shadow's pretty much in the same situation. How do I deal with what's on board?
And the Death Lord might be very problematic because it can pull off the Reno Jackson from the deck or the Jaraxxus. And the Jaraxxus being one of the win conditions, right? Wait, does he play Jaraxxus when he plays Arcane Golem?
Maybe not.
Yeah,
I have no idea, but
you could also pull up Katowice, which he probably plays, right?
Yeah, it could pull it for us, but it can pull out light bomb targets, which is another problem, especially if Lucky Shadow loses a valuable minion through, or gains a valuable minion on board through Deathlord, and then the light bomb comes down. He never gets an opportunity to play a ball. There's Forison, so it's not coming down through the Deathlord this time.
Also, I think Siphon Soul is basically the only thing that you can kill the Deathlord with, right? Warlock. It's the only thing he's threatened for, and it's like if you use Siphon Soul on Deathlord, it's kind of like a waste because you want to use it for like I don't know if you play Isera or like you want to use it for a really big target or like for whatever you entomb.
Well, I think it's like it's a peculiar situation when both decks are not playing big minions, right? Because the Warlock version with the Arcane Golem, I think usually doesn't run big minions at all. It just revolves around the strategy of comboing out the opponent, right? When the Priest uses the leverage of Entomb to get the win condition from his opponent deck, right? But when it relies on specific combos, then it loses value, the initial value, right? Very.
Although there's a threat there.
Wow.
What
the hell?
And he can stealth it, so no big game hunter can come down from Lucky Shadow. And now this is a situation where Elscouta is starting to put a lot of pressure on the life, but Reno Jackson is a card that can bring Lucky Shadow back into the game, especially on life totals, but maybe not so much on board. That's been a recurring problem for Lucky Shadow. From the beginning of the game, he's never been able to get board back from Elscouta.
But having the Reno Jackson right in hand makes him switch his mindset, right, about the game. Because he knows that he has the reset button, so other cards are gaining now value. He can change the way he thinks about the whole game right now. Because he has the certainty that he can heal himself to the default 30, right?
Finding Reno Jackson might just be what he needs to be a bit more aggressive, take a few more risks, and find that damage he needs to do to the priest to set up the combo.
I think that's the thing, Elki, that we were talking about. The Siphon Soul was one of the few things that can kill the Deathlord, right, in the priest deck. And
in a Warlock, yeah, out of no board, yes. I think like
yeah, but now you have to get rid of it anyway because it stands in the path for the Archon Golem to deal the phase damage, right? And if you can't do that, you can't combo your opponent. So you're still like facing the same problem that you don't have a way to deal.
Yeah, it's gonna be
with
very
the
hard
taunt.
to remove it, especially because Lucky Shadow is probably gonna lose his board. When the priest has like 9 cards in his hand and 3 minions, like, you would expect that he can remove the board of Lucky Shadow pretty easily, and that's what he's gonna do now.
He doesn't even have to use Light Bomb here, he's just going for the old minion battle, which has worked out for him so far. Another issue as well with the Deathlord is, if he deals with this Deathlord, there's another one sitting in Elscouta's hand, so that guy can come down, and then he's in the same situation he was in before. And this seems to be the problem Lucky Shadow's been having in this game. He's just been stuck behind on board for so long, he hasn't found what he needs to get it back.
Well, there's the Big Game Hunter to deal with the Skeletal Knight, but the Joust mechanic might be very important in this situation. If he wins the Joust, but it might be problematic with the Priest deck, which curves out on a couple of Shadow Priests most likely, right? Maybe Dr. Boom. You might not win the Joust, so just the minion will just vanish after the Big Game Hunter.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot to consider because Lucky Shadow is probably thinking about every card which is left in his deck, and yeah, if he doesn't play big minions, he already had a lot of his big minions. He already had Reno Jackson and Emperor and the Faceless Manipulator, so I don't know how much mana can the minions he has left cost.
Peddlers, maybe in Gang Boss, you know, those are the kind of minions we'll probably see from a Joust, but we're going to find out right now what is going to come out of this Joust for both players.
Right.
He's hesitant.
The trigger was not pulled yet, and here we go. So
Sludge Belcher
he actually lost the Joust. Oh wow, that's unfortunate.
Now the big board comes down. Lofeb is going to protect these 4 attack minions, and hopefully for Lucky Shadow, he can find the power on board he needs to deal with Elscouta's dominance so far. Lofeb is definitely going to help. No Light Bomb is going to be able to come down, or Entomb. What do you do here as Elscouta? Do you go on defensive?
The R is gonna help a lot too, by the way, because he can just like, he can play the full combo and the R at the same turn because of Torisan came up, so it's a really key card to get, I think. And
so how much damage the Warlock player has now? Lucky Shadow has the Archon Golem, gives a certain PO for 2 mana,
like 20,
so that's
right?
6, that's 10, that's 20 damage, and he has the Owl to get through the first taunt, right? So if he somehow finds another source of damage, he can just kill the priest next turn.
The one thing Elscouta has shown throughout this matchup is his willingness to trade. He will always fight for board, and we can see it here now. He's choosing to go for board. He will always keep Lucky Shadow's board in check, and that's the one advantage he has going against this combo is as long as he keeps clearing and Lucky Shadow doesn't find that extra bit of damage, he may not have what he needs to... Well, that is definitely a card to help him push, like, for the damage, but Light Bomb hasn't been used.
Yeah, but he can just get Entombed, I think.
Entombed, Light Bomb?
If he can clear... can just Entomb it and clear the boom bots.
I would say that first what we want to see is to clear the Deathlord and see what it comes out of it, right? Because might be few options, like... It's certainly not Dr. Boom, because we just saw it being drawn, but he has 10 cards left, and I'm certain that he knows exactly the 10 cards he has left, so he can have something that will benefit the situation, right? Let's see what it is. Something with Death Rattle, something with a Taunt, an example.
Even the Gang Boss is pretty good because it's most likely gonna pop one more minion.
Well, then it
But
gets
Cabal.
Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
and once
true.
again,
But yeah.
Elscouta will take the board again with a steal there. I like clearing. I prefer clearing than Owl. I do agree with you, Lo-Fi, because then you can save the Owl for the second Death Lord, or a potential Belcher if he's running one. Right.
Oh wow, he's trading.
Wow. And he once again wins it, so this guy is not going anywhere. He's just going to keep coming down.
He's trading and tapping and... Oh, Sylvanas.
Did he
that's
play
like
the card? Wait, did he just miss 6 mana?
How come he didn't play yeah.
Wow, well, that's quite... The Joust just took the time, you know? It's sometimes a situation when you're not experienced with the mechanic, like an example, gang up, can just make you misplay because you just lost a huge amount of time to see the animation, which you're not used to, and you can't even click on the cards on the board because gang up just gets inside, you know, on the first.
That is a fantastic rewind right there. So once again, this Death Lord is gonna be the brick wall in front of Lucky Shadow, which he can't punch through without some help. Dr. Boom is, from what his perspective, might be the card to help him there. But the problem is the 7/4 trades into it. Like you said earlier, the Entomb deals with it. The priests are too far
The problem is like when they have 9 cards, it's like now it's like you must feel like no matter what he plays, priest probably has an answer to it, right? Because priest has like 8 cards in his hand, so for sure. And he didn't see any Entomb or Light Bomb. And like the longer the game goes through, it's like very likely he has one of those cards.
Yeah,
but
that's
then
a good point.
he's just gonna deal with whatever he plays, so he still kind of like have to play something eventually.
He would really love to have that Dr. Boom or Sylvanas last turn on board, right? Because he missed on 6 mana, which is a huge swing when you're playing such board-centric decks right now.
But he didn't want to play Dr. Boom because he actually tapped, right? He had 8 mana, he plays the R, and then he had 8 and tapped, so he didn't want to play Dr. Boom at all.
The problem with his
But he could have tapped first and just played the Dr. Boom, right? Without owling.
Yes.
He could have played the Sylvanas. I think one thing that might be going through Lucky Shadow's head is, if I play Sylvanas, it's probably going to get entombed.
But during the game, during the course of the game, it will get entombed anyway.
Right, yeah, that's correct.
Because you're not giving good targets for the entomb at any point of the game. It's either Dr. Boom for entomb or Sylvanas for entomb. Every other minion will be dealt with the minions on board already.
And the Shadow Whip Pain is a very good response to this. Once again, the board in Elscouta's favour. Kind of a recurring theme within this matchup so far. But the one thing I'd like to say for Lucky Shadow is he's in a kind of a new situation for him in his life, stuck in a booth, you know, playing this intense control matchup with an audience sat in front of him. I mean, Elky, you've have a career of playing competitive games. What was it like your first moment going into a booth and playing against like a professional player or someone?
Yeah, it's very difficult. At the beginning in Korea, that was probably the most difficult because I was playing like StarCraft in front of thousands of people, and as soon as I make a little mistake and the Korean guy like win a fight, they're all like basically cheering against me, so it's like even more stressful. They're like, oh man, I missed like one thing, and it's like everybody cheers. Like, that's difficult. And also, to be honest, he had really difficult starting hand because he had nothing to play for the first 3 turns, which is kind of like his deck is like high mana minion and kind of higher curve. So when the priest gets this board with like, it was very difficult to get it back.
And that probably increases the intensity of the situation for you, right? If things are not going your way from the start, the pressure could really get to you, especially if you're a new player who's not experienced in kind of an offline tournament environment. I very much believe that you need to gain a certain amount of experience playing in these atmospheres and these situations before you become completely comfortable, like players like Tice and Elscouta, who are like just so cool, but they learned how to get that way. It just didn't come naturally.
Yes, for sure. It's very different when you're like used to play like, from the comfort of your home and like there's nobody watching, and now he knows like there's like thousands of people watching him. His every move.
I think we're going to be rich here, guys. Rena Jackson's going to come down, try and get back into the life game. And as you said earlier, Lo-Fi, Cabal is going to have a field day with his Imp Boss.
Field day, and the Skeleton Knight will probably get some more value even though like it already had 1-2 jousts. Will probably win another one because now we know that you know that your opponent still has
Battler.
bad minions. I'm saying bad minions, but it's low-cost minions in his
minions,
deck. So he can just go for it again.
Once again, the
And
Jace
he
is
wins
won!
it.
Oh my man, this knight is just not going anywhere. He just wants to stick around.
That's
Yeah, but,
insane,
you
actually,
know,
yeah.
It could have been silenced to just
That's true.
play around the draws,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but that's like kind of interesting actually, you know, because like Museum Curator, like this card is, if you like look at this card, it's kind of a bad card, right? You wouldn't just put it into every deck. But the great thing about the Museum Curator and the Discover thing is that you can just pick the minion that's like most suited to the situation. And in this situation, it's actually an awesome card. Most of the time you don't want to play this on turn 6, but
Yeah.
when you have the board, and like in this spot, it's just like the best card you could have gotten almost from the Curator.
I really love the keyword. Like, Discover is my favorite keyword of all we have in Hearthstone because it creates situations that you're not used to, and you have to be like, you know, you have to make a decision on the spot to take the best, to make the best out of what you're given, right? So it's an awesome mechanic to test the skill of the players and the knowledge about the game.
It's rewarding, right? It's
yeah,
a
it's
rewarding
rewarding,
mechanic.
yes.
It's a
Exactly.
great mechanic, I think. It's one of the best for sure.
But once
It
again,
also makes it exciting, right? So it's kind of like it makes the game kind of random but exciting because you can always pick something, and at the same time it's takes a lot of skill, and you can always find something that's pretty suited to the situation.
Also, very important fact about Museum Curator, it's being played in Priest also because you have turn 3 Valence Chosen, and you were lacking a 2-drop for the Priest that was kind of threatening the Valence Chosen, right?
and the Valence Chosen turns a 1/2 into a real threat with a nice health pool as well, which can trade into a lot of, say, the aggressive stuff in the game. And you get the bonus effect of choosing one of these Death Rattle minions,
for
which
sure.
can definitely leverage the game. Look how much impact the 7/4 has had. He's dealt with it, it's gone back to his hand, he's dealt with it again, it's gone back to his hand. So it just shows the power of Discover, but also Museum Curator in the Priest list.
Yeah, so like 1/2 is very easy to remove, but because it gives you another card, you don't want to waste a removal on a 1/2 usually. It's just like, you're not gonna frostboard it or like Dark Bomb a 1/2 minion if it's pretty bad to do it, so it's just like, puts in a difficult spot.
And now these boom bots are going to be dealt with very easily. One damage to the Death Lord is not nice. And now Entomb can come down and Elscouta finds one of his win conditions, the heavy hitter Dr. Boom, go into his deck. And now Lucky Shadow has to worry about that guy coming down. He's not only got
Skeletal Knight.
the Skeletal Knight, he's now got a Dr. Boom to go with it. So things are looking very bleak for Lucky Shadow here.
I think it's just waiting for the Shadow Flame maybe? He has to play the Shadow Flame, right?
No, he didn't.
He does, he didn't, but he has to have one in his deck.
I'm
probably.
sure.
Very likely, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably what he's looking for now, because I don't think he can clear the board with any other way.
But what do you Shadow Flame? Like, you can Shadow Flame the Sylvanas and steal the Death Lord in this situation specifically, but I don't think there's enough power available to him without using Abusive Sergeant or an Overwhelming to Shadow Flame down, say, a Dr. Boom. So will he have to throw away one of his burst tools in order to get back into the game with, say, a Shadow Flame? So
It might be a spot where you want to do it, because if you don't like PO like the refreshment vendor or something, you're never gonna get the board basically.
Yeah. But look at that.
That's not
That sucks.
not the cards you were looking for.
He even hit it as well. He doesn't want to look at it. I don't want to look at these options. Leopard Gnome could potentially be the first 2 damage he deals to Elscouta this game if he picks it. But what do you choose in this situation? Nothing stands out.
Blood Imp? I would have taken the Leopard Gnome. As you said, the 2 damage might be crucial at some point of the game. I don't like the Blood Imp, to be honest.
And once again, Lucky Shadow drops some minions down, trying to get back on this board. But as we can see, Elscouta has everything he needs.
Is that the same minion that was just taken from the field?
Last turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Probably it is, right? Because the priest most likely doesn't play his own Dr. Boom.
How many cards do they have left now? They must not have many, right? Like
Well, the
6?
Warlock is around 5, I would say, and the priest is around 6, 7. Even though priest pulled off 2 massive combos of card draw, the Warlock was tapping so much, he's still ahead.
Yeah. He's ahead in cards, but in this situation, it's just not as valuable because he can't really play any of those. He can't really extract the value from any of those cards just because he doesn't have the board.
I mean, this has become a resource battle. Ultimately, and Elscouta getting those card draws was a massive deal when it came to these decks going against each other. Now, Lucky Shadow, I think, If he feels he's not in this game, he could potentially hide the Faceless and the Arcane Golem to save it as a surprise in upcoming games. I mean, is there anything Lucky Shadow could do here to win this game? That's something you should consider. I mean, keeping information back is very important when going into a set like this.
When we rewind this deck, we'll rewind this match, you can see that that Death Lord was the biggest asset for the Priest in this game, because it wasn't removed at all from the game.
He has 2 cards, wow, the Priest. Yeah, Death Lord was...
Death Lord was silenced, and then he rewound it and just played it again. He has another one in hand, so even if this Death Lord got dealt with, Death Lord's bigger brother would come down. But, you know, Death Lord got rewound, and now he's back on the field. And like you said, Lothar, it's changed the game. Lucky Shadow's just not been able to do any damage to Elscouta.
Maybe the key point also was when Elscouta had a 2-5 Zombie Char, and he could have played Loteb or the Belcher, and he played the Belcher, then he played Okanai and the Flash Heal, and he just gave him the tempo and the board, full tempo and full board, and from that point on, just basically like Lucky Shadow wasn't able to clear ever.
Wow, and 7 damage to the face with the Boombots. That's a huge deal also.
And this could be it. We have a Okanai in hand with the Flash Heal.
Yes, that's it.
And the 2 damage from the hero power as well.
Elscouta, after a long game, which I felt he was in control for most of it, takes the win here, tying the game at 1-1. And he must be happy finding a win with this Priest. We were talking down Priest on how its impact on the game recently, but that was really convincing.
Yeah, especially in the matchup that's not necessarily like the one you're looking for, because against a Warlock, against a Reno Lock that can tap so many times, it's probably not the matchup you want.
But he made a really good call with during most of his turns, while the Warlock made some questionable plays, and that was the factor that decided that the Priest was better in this match.
Yeah, Priest played really well. He definitely he took no risk. Basically, when he was ahead, he was playing very safe and clearing the board every time and trading and like not overextending as well. So that's
yeah. The low tip turn, that's the thing. Like the low tip turn and the Death Lord, those were the cards that could have turned the game around, changed the pace of the game, changed the outcome of, well, dealing damage, because we didn't see a single damage being dealt to the Priest in this game.
Not a single point.
Not a single damage.
Yeah, it's kind of the problem also when you play the combo version. Is like the combo is great, but like this spot, basically those 4 cards, they were dead in his hand the entire game. He could never use them for anything really.
But Lothar, like you said, was the key point for Lucky Shadow taking initiative on the board and being able to keep someone on board long enough to deal damage not only to his face, but start trading. It was always Elscouta had minions down, and then Lucky Shadow would play stuff, Elscouta would trade it away, and then he was back in the same situation. He even used the Twisted Never to clear the board, and then Elscouta dropped Toshli with, I think it was a Death Lord, and then he was back in the same situation. And that was recurring over and over again. And that Skeleton Knight, oh man, that card
was the greatest value ever.
He would not go away. It was incredible how much value he got from that Knight. And, you know, I've never seen the Knight have such an impact in the game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Lucky Shadow, I think he might just have like feeling good because he has Twisting Nether, and he's like, it doesn't matter what he plays on board, I can just clear it. But then the problem is like he drew so many cards because of the combo too. Elscouta, like he can just like refill the board instantly, and it's kind of like the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And now we have the classes for the next match. I don't know if I can spoil them yet, because we didn't see them on the screen yet, but we got the information. Let's talk about it. So, Elscouta will picking up Paladin, while Lucky Shadow changes to the Druid. So we actually will see all of the classes already during the free games.
Yeah, they've been mixing it up, trying to find good matchups.
Interesting. Why do you think they change every time?
I would feel a bit demoralized after watching what happened to my Warlock at the hands of the Priest. Maybe it feels like a change of pace of deck. Druid is a faster deck than Reno Lock. You know, it's got that mid-range element to it, which you might feel a bit more comfortable with, rather than go and say maybe into another control game. So potentially that's why he's picked it.
Okay, good point. Valid point, I would say. And the Paladin now against the Druid. We assume that this Paladin will be secret one. The secret mysterious challenger Paladin, while the Druid is of course a mid-range Druid, right? And that usually goes in the favor of Paladin if he cures out correctly, right? But look at that. Belcher and Equality in Elscouta opening hand.
And a True Silver as well, another
Yeah.
card that cycled out of Secret Paladin recently. This has the potential to be mid-range Paladin, kind of more...
That will be surprising, I would say.
Very surprising.
Right?
But you could take Inequality in Secret Paladin. It's a great card to take, especially against Druid or...
I remember
And,
Robin actually took Equality in Secret Paladin in the Star Ladder Season 2 finals in Belarus, and I think he actually won a game in the Grand Finals for him, having that Equality available to him. So sneaking in cards like that can catch your opponent off guard.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, Lucky Shadow is mulliganing away Pilot Shredder while having an Innovate and Coin? Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Whoa,
it does
what just
actually.
happened?
So I think he's keeping the Wrath for the Knife Juggler, which is fine. But for the 4-drop for the Druid is really important, I think.
Yeah, you
trying
only have 2 of those in your deck.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Well,
you
you
have
have the
the keeper,
keepers.
but you don't. I mean, against Paladin, mostly there's a target for it, so right when he comes out on turn 4, not necessarily, but
The one thing that has saved him here, he gets to innovate the Shade out, I guess.
then
gets to
coin
gets to
inner.
innovate the shade and coin the shade.
Yeah, but
Then
what are the chances of getting 2 shades while mulliganing 2 cards away?
Well, fortunately for Lucky Shadow, it
Wait,
did
wait.
work out.
Am I saying this correctly? Is this the Paladin that runs actually 5 to 7 Murlocs in
That's
their
a Murloc,
decks?
yeah.
Anything
Nice.
can happen, guys. This is
Anything can happen.
Paladins. is going to be rocking the Murlocs here. So another control deck coming from Elscouta. We saw the Control Priest. Now we've got the combo control Murloc Paladin coming from Elscouta as well. So playing to the strengths, I think, of what type of decks he likes.
Yep. I mean, I love this deck. It's so fun to watch, like playing anything can happen. Too bad in Standard it won't be playable because, I mean, maybe it won't be
Well,
playable.
we don't know yet.
Because Old Merc Eye
Oh, the Murloc, yeah.
is out of, is in the rotation, so he'll be kicked out of the Standard mode. But we might see other creatures, other Murloc creatures that will fit into the theme.
Let's give the deck to Neville's for a bit after when Standard comes out and see what he does with it. And if he can find a way to make this deck work once Old Murkai gets cycled out, I'd be pretty confident in Murloc Paladin's future with Neville's on the case. But here we have the Shade out early, like we said before. Doesn't go for the coin Shade here either. He goes for the hero power to clear the 1/1, so he hasn't got enough information to tell him it's Murloc Paladin just yet. So perhaps he's going for the defensive play, just trying to keep the board clear.
Well, I don't know. It's like
That's my reasoning behind Lucky Shadow. I'm afraid of the potential Secret Paladin has in early game if he's hero power, and I don't want to give him anything he can buff with cog hammers and stuff like that. But I think Lucky Shadow should get a read very soon on what this deck actually is.
Yeah, also he might just want to keep the coin to possibly coin out the keeper or the next card that is gonna get the higher cost card that he will get later on.
And True Silver's going to come down if he doesn't swing into the face. Coin Harry is going to come down. He's going to be able to clear up 2 charges.
Oh, wow. This is some huge play now from Lucky Shadow. A turn 4, 5 mana Ancient of Law to destroy a card from your opponent. So basically, you have an Ancient of Law that not only gains you 2 cards, but also gains the board advantage and time walks a turn for your opponent. It's crushing.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. But Elscouta has the Pyromancer Equality combo. We can just like clear the full board.
He did lose a full True Silver though and gave 2 cards to his opponent. That was pretty brutal. But like you said, he does have an answer to these Shades, and these Shades will never get any value if he does go for that. But he's going for the Murloc first, perhaps.
Wait.
Do you telegraph too much if you go for the Murloc? Don't you just go for the clear here? And
But
then
it doesn't matter if you telegraph it or not. The
Well, you kinda have
Pyromancer is
to clear
just
it, right?
needed to clear the board, because otherwise you're getting so much damage to the face. Imagine a single Savage Roar this turn. It's 8 damage.
yeah, he had to go for the Pirate. If he did go for the Murloc, I think you tell Lucky Shadow, right, it's time to reveal these Shades to start hitting that face before they get taken out by that combo. But
Yep.
Elscouta, like you said, does the thing that saves his life.
Wow, imagine that at 5, 11, 15, 16, 24 damage on turn 5.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Actually, +1 from the hero power too.
Lucky Shadow could have revealed them actually. Maybe he should have. I mean, it's always you always want to, especially because you use a true silver, then you can't have a weapon to kill them, and basically like, if you think it's a Murloc Paladin, it's probably only Equality or Consecration that he can play. So that, like, whether they're like stealth or not, it doesn't really matter for that.
But that equality play with the Pyro is going to slow things down for Elscouta. He can now make this bear follow the rules, whatever rules bears follow. And he can slow things down and make things play at his pace at least.
If you can follow the rules, you have a lot of options there. You can also Bluegill and charge and play the second true silver.
Oh yeah, you could do that too. That's another way you could take it out. What do you prefer then? Do you prefer reducing this attack to 1, or do you prefer just clearing up the Murlocs, getting those Murlocs into your graveyard?
Yeah, I think clearing might be better here. Also, it's like making you a bit more. I think it's better to have the true silver on board.
Yeah,
or like
exactly. You
your
have
hand.
more options next time.
Like next turn, you're gonna be able to clear something with 4 health for sure, even though you don't have a board.
And you've seen Harrison Jones already clear 1 full true silver. This true silver should be okay.
Yeah, this one should be fine.
That would be so sick if he plays an ooze. Some people play an ooze. Then he plays like acidic ooze, and you'd be like, oh.
I would be crushed. I would be absolutely crushed. I'd be like, man, really? Are you doing this to me right now?
They don't really play it in Druid though, but in Zoo it's kind of popular. It used to be more popular when like Patron was like Warrior was stronger.
Yeah, it was also popular like last year.
Yeah, when Rogue was popular also, it's a really key card sometimes. It's just like.
This is an awkward turn for Lucky Shadow. You can play Living Roots to get the 2 1/1s down. You can't play the Keeper for tempo here because you need it for the Doomsayers. You now know this is a mid-lock variation, so a slow turn for the Druid on 6. No big heavy hitters to challenge that True Silver.
To be honest, I don't value Keeper so much against the Doomsayers because the Doomsayers, when they're being played, that means that there's something that has to be something on board already for the Druid, and when Druid has something on board, that means that most likely they will have the damage needed to kill it.
Yeah, that's true, especially in that situation. That's what I was gonna say. When he has like two Wrath and 1 Savage Roar, it's gonna be pretty like. The silence is super important, like against Freeze Mage, because it's like Force Nova Doomsayer.
Exactly.
But against the Paladin, you just got Doomsayer, so it's usually it keeps him 7 health, but it's pretty easy to clear when you're Druid.
That's a fantastic draw right there for Lucky Shadow. He can finally draw some more minions. He gets a 5/5 body down on the board. The True Silver and the Murloc alone is enough to challenge it, but it's so important to draw some minions because right now his hand hasn't got much going on.
He is an Emperor.
He
He's
definitely
an Emperor and just clean up the game with some huge combo swing.
Lay on hands, I think, would be a nice draw there. However,
well, that means your Old Murkai will have 6 attack and 7 health. He goes for only 1 War Leader. What do you think about that? Because basically the War Leader was also acting as a heal for the minion.
Yeah, and also he buffs the other War Leader, right?
Yes.
The other War Leader
so
is
you get
5/4.
like huge both minions that are not dead to Wrath. Right?
yeah, now both can get taken out by Dual Wrath if he decides to go down that line. He doesn't... Well, he can play Big Game Hunter, I suppose, if he wanted, but...
You can probably swipe, right? You could swipe the 3/3 and then Wrath the 2 other ones and heal.
Well, he can swipe and Keeper of the Grove too.
Yeah, he has a lot of options, but would you want to use a Wrath to cycle in that spot? It's pretty good because I guess it doesn't really need that many cards anymore.
Like, Swipe is not also the MVP against the Paladin anymore because that kind of Paladin doesn't play Master for Battle at all.
Yeah.
And 1/1s don't have any real threat, don't they? They're just guys on the board who help him trade. There's no kind of life, doesn't do any threat to the life total. It's all about the combo. So like you said, Swipe isn't as important as it would be against Secret Paladin, which you're worried against.
Also, like, the thing is, like, they don't have many 1/1s and they don't have, like, Blessing of Kings. Like, with Secret Paladin, the problem is, like, kind of snowballs very fast if you have, like, they can Blessing of King, Coghammer, or things like that.
He clears up the board with double Wraths in the Swipe.
But all he's doing...
Huge investment.
Yeah.
But all he's doing is feeding the anything can happen now.
So, we played 1 War Leader, Old Makai, and 1 Bluegill Warrior.
2 War Leaders now, that's already a lot. That's
2?
Like, no, it's the second one, right?
Oh, War Leader, yeah. I thought you said Bluegill Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay. So, 2 Charging Murlocs and 2 War Leaders being, like, available, right, to Elscouta. So, the potential damage, while using the anything can happen, will be 6 from the Bluegill Warrior and 6 9.
9, right?
9 from the old
So it's
Murkai.
like 15 damage.
Yes, 15 plus the Truce of a Champion, which is 19. But this is the first. Anything can happen, and you can still draw other Murlocs in the meantime.
Yeah, of course. And also, like, the thing, like, when you play it back, it's not that easy to clear as well, right?
That's
if you use 2 Wrath, it's like, the thing is like, you don't have leader, but you just build a really strong board, and like, it's pretty hard for Druid to kill all these, to kill those Murlocs.
How does Druid deal with that? You can just, you don't need it for the combo damage. You can just play it for the minions, just for the power on board. And the Druid's just like, okay, now what do I do? If I clear them, they might come back.
This is why I like the double War Leader at the same time, because Druid needs to deal honest damage to the minions. He can't really play anything else apart from the Keeper.
That's
silence in
why
that
would
wall.
you silence,
Okay.
I would
Well,
have
that was
silenced the
surprising. I would silence the Belcher too.
I would silence the Belcher because you're probably not gonna win the long run game.
The only thing he should be would be afraid of is a Bluegill Warrior, right? But that's a very situational.
And it's
kind of
only
play.
one off left.
Yeah,
in the deck.
exactly.
So Old Murkai was played, Logo the Warrior was played, and one War Leader was played, and it still will come back unsilenced.
Yeah, now you can just trade it and come back.
And now, here we go, he's back!
And those minions are there for to stay. They don't die. They're just being resurrected. So how do I deal with that as a as a druid? There's no way you can deal with that. You can big game Hunter 1, but then you have other minions still in play. You have used the swipe, you use double wraps. You can combo, but then the Belcher is there unsilenced. If the Belcher would have been silenced, then you have a way of cleaning both War Leaders with the Treants.
I like him using the Bluegill as a trade as well, playing around Big Game Hunter, so the Bluegill gets some value. He just doesn't do face damage, he does trade into something, and that Sludge Belcher is what's protecting him from any kind of combo nonsense that come from the Druid. But now what do you do? Like you said, Lova, it's just like, this is so tough for a Druid to deal with. What do you think he can do here, Alki? Is there anything that will bring him back into this game?
It's a very difficult spot. I mean, if you can survive one more turn, you can silence the Belcher and hope to get like a...
Well, he can silence the...
To do another Savage Roar, maybe draw another Savage Roar, and like he could draw another Savage Roar and silence the Belcher and Force of Nature face, and then the next turn, if he draws a Savage Roar, he has leader, right? But it's like, if he doesn't die this turn, he's probably dying this turn.
So, keep out of Grove this turn. Yep. And he just needs to kill or silence one of the War Leaders, but it's just better to kill the Bluegill Warrior in this situation, I guess.
And he's already silenced
Might
one
be better
War
to
Leader.
silence the Belcher, because how is he ever gonna kill the Belcher then?
No.
I mean, now he's like gaining time, but the thing is like, even though he's gaining time to his death, he has like, he's super unlikely to get answers to go through the Belcher.
One thing that Elscouta has shown in the previous series as well, he's very patient, he's willing to trade. If he realizes Lucky Shadow has no way to get through this Belcher, like we saw with the Death Lord in the previous game, he will protect it. Yeah. He will just protect it.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very smart play, especially because he knows like the power of the Druid is kind of the combo, right? But when they have nothing on board, the combo does like 14 damage, which is a lot, but in this spot it's like...
Okay, that's interesting. He used the draw before sacrificing more creatures.
Do you like the True Sylvan to the Big Game Hunter here instead of the Murloc just to keep more stuff on board?
I would just actually use the Truce of a Champion, the Keeper of the Grove, to have more health. That's it. And just go face with the rest.
And now this Belcher can't be silenced at all. We've seen 2 Keeper of the Groves being used already, so the only way the Druid is going to get through it is with damage on board. But the problem is, much like mirrored like the last game, Elscouta is just going to keep clearing until he finds that second copy of the combo and just finish him off with the dying Murlocs.
I think he's just going to finish him off. You can almost finish him off with what he has on board, just like trading into every minion one by one and just like doing like damage with the other one.
So do you combo now to just try and clear something?
I don't think I would combo, because like basically then you have no win condition ever if you combo now.
You can force a nature hero power to just deal with the Belcher, but you're gonna have to run 3 pieces of this combo just into the Belcher alone.
So bad. It feels really bad. Yeah, it's like
he deals with the problem of Belcher number 1 But much like the last game, number 2 is going to come down, and then his day is going to be ruined once again.
Yeah, also, but unlike last game, now he's like also running out of resources, Lucky Shadow. Now he only has like 1 trader to play, and it's like...
He doesn't even have to Belcher at this point. He's so far ahead on board and with life. He can just lay on hands for draw, find that last anything can happen just to finish the game off.
He would probably just finish off the game with just Sludge Belcher.
Yeah,
It's just like
just
damage
into
over
the Druid.
It's a dot. Damage over time. 9 damage for 3 turns.
You take 3 sludge damage every turn.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
green
man.
for sure. The damage is green.
Oh man, this is a tough spot for Lucky Shadow. I really feel for him here. Innovate is a whiff draw there. Shredder and Living Roots can come down, but will they stick around? I doubt it, unless Elscouta just finds what he needs to finish off the game. He clears up like most of what's left, but the problem is that Elscouta, even if he doesn't find the damage he needs to finish this game, he just replenishes the board with another taunt and more minions, and things are just looking bad for Lucky once again.
Yeah, I mean now also because he only has 1 piece of the combo, even if some minion sticks, it's like much less threatening than before.
Yeah.
He has 2 minions but no Savage Roar, so they're not gonna do that much damage, right?
I agree completely. Now the Sludge Belcher will be just an impenetrable wall for the Druid player. Because you need to use combo to help clear that out. Well, that's actually a good draw.
Yeah, Lofab is a body that can deal with the Sludge Belcher. The only issue is True Silver is sitting equipped there.
Yep.
And so if he doesn't have the damage to finish him off, he has the Acolyte and the True Silver to just clear the Belcher up, and this Shredder is not going to be able to do much. It might need to run into the Sludge Belcher to get something with some attack on the board.
Well, that certainly doesn't look good for a Lucky Shadow.
How much damage does he have?
It shouldn't be that bad for Druid in general. Like, this matchup is not that great for the Paladin. Again, like, Elscouta kinda outplays his opponent in an unfavorable matchup.
Elscouta was able to like really play very well from a ahead position. He was ahead the entire game, and he really kept making good trades, not taking any unnecessary risks, and playing around his opponent's threat, and he did that very well this game.
Well, one thing Elscouta has shown during this whole series so far, he has such a good discipline when it comes to fighting for board. He's very board-centric when he needs to be. He doesn't give his opponents opportunities to come back, and this just looks like the last game to me. Elscouta gets board, he keeps it, and Lucky Shadow once again is trying to get something down, but he just can't.
What? Okay, I'm surprised by that. To be honest, I'm kinda...
Why? Yeah.
I'm kinda surprised that he wasn't aggressive this turn. Like, he should have just dealt the damage to the face. Doesn't care. He shouldn't care about the minions from the Druid side. You just sacrifice the Acolyte of Pain and True Silver Champion, deal with low tap, 6 damage to the face with Belcher and Peacekeeper, and that's it. And you play healbots for board presence and not the heal.
The one thing he could be banking on now is if he draws combo, it's just the end. So just making sure that the Druid can't put anything down to protect him. And there it is.
Wow.
There it is.
Okay, well, the plan was easy if you know what he will draw.
The power of the cards there, he understood.
Wow,
What he's
32 damage. Dim.
Ouch.
Now this sax should be done. Yeah.
And so Elscouta takes another convincing game with one of his control decks against Lucky Shadow, and he's one win away from going to the next round.
That was
By the way,
impressive, especially because like on turn 4 when he coined the Harrison Jones, you're like, wow, that's like
such
sick.
a blowout.
Yeah, it's like he loses the 2
So
silver,
sick.
the guy gets like 2 cards, it's like really sick, and you did, and like if you look like 10 turns after, it's like what happened, right?
It's like you watch a match and
Yeah.
you're like, oh wow, this man is so ahead. You turn your back to the TV screen, you just do something for like 2 minutes, you get back and it's like, oh, what?
So what happened actually? How did he get like back into the game?
Well,
What
he
was
played
the game?
sticky minions and the Druid failed to use the resources that he had. Like the Pyromancer turn with equality allowed the Paladin to turn the board around, while the Druid player didn't use his minions that he developed early on to pressure the Paladin enough, right? Because if he would be using those minions to just deal damage each single turn, that would stuck. Sorry, it's not stuck. It's stuck each single turn, and that will put the Paladin in an uncomfortable position when he had to be defending himself and not just playing clear and develop the board. Because that was what was happening, right?
Yeah, that's true. Now he was sitting behind the Belcher, like really happy. He had like 24 life. A Belcher is like never threatened in any way, and it's like.
With an army of Murlocs to boot, he used his Murloc trading really efficiently as well. In fact, got value out of them, got rid of them to use anything can happen to get them back. And once that happened, like you said, once he hid behind the Belcher, it was just so hard for him to get back in the game.
Yeah. By the way, for someone that is not really sure how the anything can happen works, is that the Murlocs that are being summoned are randomized. So an example, if you have 10 Murlocs that are dead, the 7 Murlocs that are being chosen for the anything can happen are being randomized.
So it's not in order they were taken out.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
It's mixed up.
We were thinking about that a lot during PGL Bucharest, because Crane had a situation to basically have default, but we weren't sure if it's randomized or is it by order that they were being dealt with on the board first.
Alright, so we're going into the next game here. Warlock Mirror, Zulok coming from Elscouta, which is not like his other decks. His other 2 control decks, he's had extremely strong performances. But the one thing I will say about Elscouta and Zoo, he is a board-centric man from what we've seen him play. And Zoo, as far as aggressive decks go, is the king of the board. That's what they want to do with their decks. And Lucky Shadow there has got the Reno Jackson Warlock, which we saw him struggle with against that Priest.
Is he going for the boot? What is this a boot?
What is this a boot? Dark Peddler.
Dark Peddler turn 1. So that actually I like that.
He has Egg Overwhelming coming up.
And he has, Egg, and he has Gang Boss on turn
3. That's not bad as well. In-game boss finds its way to Lucky Shadow's hand. A nice minion that can start trading, getting some value from those imps. A very good pickup for him there.
Yeah, most of the time it's an awesome pickup, but in that situation it's just gonna get traded perfectly with the power overwhelming on the egg. It's pretty unfortunate. But I mean, obviously you can never not play the in-game boss on turn 3. It's clearly the optimal play.
And like you said, Overwhelming here is going to make a very clean trade into his in-game boss with a Mortal Coil if he chooses to clear up the 1-1. But I quite like the Creeper coming down instead.
Yeah, I think Creeper is better because it develops your board and also use all the mana. And you're probably going to have another opportunity to use the Mortal Coil later. And now because of the Creeper also, you can sacrifice it and play Gormok on the next turn if needed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And now he can't be Hellfired efficiently.
Wow.
But Shredder...
Gormok value, right?
Yeah.
Sick.
Does he want to do it now though? Yeah, like so many. Now there's like so many ways to do it.
Yeah, how is he gonna do this?
Could play the Shredder and
Oh, if he goes for that, then he doesn't plan to use the Gormok. But the Gormok has so rarely the value that I think like when you can pull it off,
yeah, I like
most likely it's very good.
Also, the Gormok is good because I mean, against Reno Luck, they have Hellfire or Demon Wrath or Shadow Flame, and now you can play Shadow Flame. So on turn 5, you can really clear the Gormok and the Nerubian.
Well, the way he played that turn, I think he made Knife Juggler, Haunted Creeper an option as well. Something a bit bigger came out of the Shredder. So he had those knives to help him to clear that minion. Unfortunately for Lucky Shadow, a 4-1 came out, and the Haunted Creeper dealt with it so easily, allowing him to play efficiently with his mana and play that Imp-Gam boss. But now, Lucky Shadow, what does he do here? I guess he could cycle first with the Mortal Coil. What do you think of that, Elky, before committing, say, a Kez into the board?
It's very difficult because, like, yeah, it's just pure cycle value because he's probably gonna want a Hellfire or Demon Wrath. He probably wants, maybe could Hellfire and coils the Nerubian. Doesn't really feel really good, but I don't think he has much better play. I'm not sure. It's difficult.
And once again, Lucky Shadow is kind of in these awkward situations where none of the plays feel that great, and he's just had to play to the best, to his best now, and he feels that the 4-3 minion is going to have enough influence on board to maybe challenge his 4-4, but Implosion gets picked up off the top by Elscouta there.
Yeah, but you can't really expect the 4-3 to... Against Zeus, they have so many ways to buff minions. They have like the Sergeant and they have like the Argus. You can't really expect it to be very challenging in that situation. But I think he just wants to like, yeah, you just play to gain some time because he's gonna force your opponent to trade into it.
What do you think
Because
of
the shadow
Argus?
flame? Because of the shadow flame, you know, you don't want to leave it. So I think, yeah, I guess it is a great play here. Implosion would have been good too. I'm not sure between the two.
Implosion is great to replenish the board after board clear, right?
Yeah,
Especially
might wanna
with
save it for
the Knife Juggler. And since the board clears for Warlock are usually cheap, he can develop the board afterwards, right? So that will be a target for the Implosion.
Can't silence the Imp Gambos and Hellfire without losing his Owl, so he has to consider once he wants to do with these extra 2 mana. He could just tap, but at 16 health, I wouldn't feel too good about tapping and Hellfire in this situation.
Yeah, I don't think he should, especially because Hellfire doesn't clear the Nerubian either, right? So if he taps, he's gonna have 14, if he has Fire 11, and then there's gonna be like 5 damage on board next turn. It's just gonna be so easy for him to die. It's just a difficult spot.
So if he Hellfires now, he drops in a 13, leaves 5 power on board. What does... So Gormok can't come down just yet to deal some extra burst damage. Doesn't have overwhelmance or anything, so Lucky Shadow will be safe, but he will need to find Reno Jackson, I think, to come back into this game.
Well, that's always the case about those decks, right?
Yeah.
He needs a Reno Jackson. Yeah, that's the purpose of the deck. Like, that's the sole reason why you're playing one of cards. But, yep.
It's a tough spot. He leaves the one imp, doesn't silence it, and now Direwolf.
Ooh, the Direwolf now has such a great value, actually. The +2 damage will matter a lot because you're setting up from 13 it's to 7, so you can even plan to have lethal next turn with just a Knife Juggler and Implosion.
Yeah, I think I like keeping hold of Knife Juggler here, just because...
Yeah, you don't play it this turn.
You can, like you say, you can use the daggers to maybe find the lethal with the Implosion. The Imp is a free power minion anyway, with his attack, so it kind of does the same thing. You gain an extra 1 damage here. Oh wow, he doesn't go for the Direwolf, interesting.
Well, that's interesting, yeah. Why wouldn't you go for the Direwolf?
Well, if he goes for the Knife Juggler, then it makes sense because he plays around Demon Wraps. I like that he doesn't go for the Direwolf.
Oh!
If he goes... Oh, look at that.
There he is! This could bring Lucky Shadow back into the game here, but the one problem is Elscouta still has board.
Everything. Yeah. So, if you play the Reno Jackson, you get 10, 11, at least 11 damage back. Right, so it's helpful to, of course, have the Reno Jackson, but it doesn't necessarily help as much as you would like to.
But I think he has to play it in this situation, top his health back up to 30, but with Elscouta having such control of the board, like you said, he's just going to tank so much damage back.
Plus also when you have this board, like as a zoo with a wolf in your hand and an Implosion, you're going to get so much like value out of every minion and Knife Juggler and the synergy, and you're kind of going to be like making the perfect trade if he decides to trade.
Yeah, I agree.
Might go for the abusive. Okay, so goes for the abusive here, just try to get something on board that can deal with maybe a Knife Juggler, but with that 1-1 sitting there, it's going to be very tough. It's going to be able to trade into it quite efficiently, or the Knife Juggler will just snipe it. So it's an awkward spot for Lucky Shadow, even after healing up to full.
And what's funny is the fact that those imps will not be dead due to Demon Wrath.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is a very good point. So we've seen Hellfire. If he clears the board, he hasn't got a Shadow Flame target. Demon Wrath being maybe one of his only ways to remove this board, but with those imps coming down, they're protected, they're not bothered.
Taps, huh?
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. I would have played the Imp Gang Boss in this situation.
Yeah,
Probably.
especially if you were going for the anti-Demon Wrath kind of board play as well.
Well, now if you want to play anti-Demon Wrath, you need to sacrifice a 4-1 Nerubian Spider to trade with the... Oh, he doesn't play around Demon Wrath. Ooh, that's gonna cost him. That's gonna cost him actually 3 damage.
So Demon Wrath can come down with low feb as well, so a 5-5 can come down, which could be the start of Lucky Shadow's fight for the board again.
Is it? Because the oh god, what's his name?
The wolf is gonna come out and just like trade low tab.
No, you will have the Gormok Impaler.
Oh, you will, that's true, yeah.
You just play the whatever minion you have in your hand, then you play Gormok and you can kill the low tap with a 1-1.
I think from Lucky Shadow's perspective though, I feel like Lofa is probably the safest way he's going to stay on board with what he has in hand. Of course, stuff like Abusive Sergeant and Direwolf Alpha are cards that are going to make this low fab seem very small and be dealt with very easily. But unfortunately for Lucky Shadow, he doesn't have anything else to keep him in the game. But like you said, Lothar is still not a great situation for him.
And the Argent Squire just to curve out perfectly on turn 8 with the Gormog. I assume he will be playing the Gormog this turn. Looks like the best way to deal with that.
So clean as well. Nice 4 damage, just run a 1-1 into it, which has done its job, stuck on the board after the Demon Wrath. And once again, Elscouta has the board, Lucky Shadow is trying to get it back.
Wow, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good for for Lucky Shadow. Like, he used already the biggest heal in his deck, which is Reno Jackson. What do you do then? What do you do now? Like, you're facing 4, 8, 9 damage on board, and you drew a high build. Okay, so that's one of
one of the ways you can
you can stay still in the game, but that doesn't change the fact that you are facing a lot of damage that will be just piling on each turn.
But the problem is here is you heal bot, and then what? You dark bomb an imp? Like, what else
Seems
can
like
you
a
do?
good deal.
Yeah, I think he has to play Boom here to have a chance to get the board back. Because the Hillbot is just gonna die like next turn, like so easily to anything, right?
But the past 2 games that we have seen from Lucky Shadow, he was not playing to win, he was playing to survive. And that's not the proper mindset when you play in tournaments.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Sometimes it's difficult for sure, and especially with the pressure and the stress, you're like, oh man, I don't want to die to this. And it's still thinking about other ways that you could like die next turn, or like the next few turns, but without even like thinking about the ways that you can win. And like, if you play the Hillbot here, you get 8 life, but then it gets traded, and like next turn you have 8 life less just because the board is already like 10 damage, right?
And that mentality of playing to survive can very much be influenced by single elimination, because you know this is your tournament life straight from the get-go, so you may feel like you need to play defensive just to stay in the tournament, but sometimes you just need to play to win and play and take a risk.
But
just take a chance.
He did take a risk because he
did,
tapped,
yeah.
he played Boom and tap, so it was
Well, he tapped because he wants to get the combo, just kill his opponent next turn if the board gets left unchecked.
Oh wow, this board is so threatening from Elscouta. Has the overwhelming as well.
Well, he wants to kill the Dr. Boom, right? He doesn't want to die to an surprisingly good hand with burst.
wow, he's that was what?
I would like to use the overwhelming there on the imp.
Could he?
Keep the 4-4. Oh,
wow,
that's a hurt giant.
That's like, yeah, I would like to keep the 4-4-2 probably.
I always have played the egg probably first too.
He already played Demon Wrath, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
he did.
4-4, the 4-4, if he doesn't have Shadow Flame, they're out of range. Like,
Interesting. Ram Bronzebeard, that's 16 life. But
16
still,
life.
there's a giant staring at you.
Well, it's half a giant at least, but he doesn't have
yeah,
the
has
tools
health,
he
but not
needs.
have the attack.
Just doesn't have anything to deal with.
It's not like a light spawn.
Oh man, such a tough spot for Lucky Shadow. Like you said, he has the heal, but it just keeps him in the game a little bit. It doesn't... Oh wow, that is a draw. That is a great draw for him. The Nerubian does spawn the 4-4, but this might be the opportunity for him to just clear the board and then heal up next turn. What do you think, Lothar? Do you clear here?
I don't think there's any other way you can play this game. You just need to play the Twisting Nether and hope your opponent has like 2 dead cards in his hand. Which might be the case if there will be like 2 POs in his hand, right? But there's a Dr. Boom. So you need to deal with the Dr. Boom because it will be the same circle of violence, right? You play a board clear and there's something right staring back at you, right? So, yeah. Oh wow, he's developing now minions instead?
Well, that's like...
He's going for the sustain play here. He just feels too threatened at this point. Maybe he wants Elscouta to use his minions to clear and then commit something like a Dr. Boom on top. Maybe he's trying to bait out more value from Elscouta, trying to get more on the board and then get a massive Twisted Nether. But I quite liked it before.
I think what he is like one of the reasons why Lucky Shadow did that is that he wants the board to be big, so his opponent won't play a taunt minion, and then he can finish up the game with an Arcane Golem, but it's still far away for him. Like, he doesn't have the PO, he doesn't have the Arcane Golem yet. He only has the Faceless Manipulator, so I don't know. It seems really weird.
He does have the Forsen to take down the Dart Bomb to help his reach a little bit more, but I don't... Well, at least the heal bot does give him a bit of time, but this is kind of a recurring theme for Lucky Shadow. He always fights for time, and his time runs out very often, so 9 to the face here. Looks like Elscouta is going all out aggressive. And he protects his egg, which is really nice here. If he was able to pop that egg open with the anti-heal bot, he would have had a full clear, but at least the 4-4 is going to stick around.
So now he has the Arcan Golem, so if he gets the PO, he clears, let's say, he clears the turn, he clears the board this turn. He might also,
wins, right?
yeah, he might also silence the egg before playing the Twisting Nether to completely eradicate the board, and then just hopefully draw the PO and win the next turn.
Yeah,
that's probably the best play, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of that egg. Make sure this board is completely clear, like you said, for that win.
But I would still favor the Twisting Nether last turn instead.
Alright, so this could be Lucky Shadow's opportunity to get back in this game and find a win. Well, back in the series, this is match point for Elscouta.
Go for the taunt, man. Go for the taunt. You need a Voidwalker, you need a Footman, and what else is there for 1 mana with taunt?
Tournament attendee.
Shield Bearer?
Shield Bearer and tournament attendee, yes.
Tournament attendee, I got this one a lot.
This is why you know the name.
Yeah, in some spots it's pretty good actually.
Well, we didn't get to see what his other options were, but he does go for the Soulfire. So he's looking to close out the game next turn. This is Lucky Shadow's.
PO?
Oh,
no.
That's not it. Doesn't even get a tap either.
No, no way. He needed the Emperor Forsen earlier on to make the Arcan Golem, or at least the Faceless Manipulator, cheaper.
Yeah, but he wasn't the pressure every turn. He couldn't just like
No, there was no way
that
that he had the room to breathe and just develop the minions at all. Maybe if the beginning of the game would have looked different and he would be more aggressive with his playstyle. But now he's staring at a huge problem.
How do you deal with this problem? Do you tap for BGH and hope? What are your options here?
he could.
Like, honestly, like, you could Dart Bomb the 2-2,
Oh,
okay.
he could tap for... Oh, he can't, wait. He could tap for Shadow Flame, but then he's not enough for Dark Bomb.
That's not BGH. So now you've dropped the Drake, Dart Bomb the 2-2, and pray. But there's no burst in his hand. As we can see, there is plenty going on there to finish this game for Elscouta.
Yeah, but he did have the power overwhelming for like many turns, right? So if you like track like which card he had it for so long, it's like probably a power overwhelming.
Even more damage from the abusive Sergeant there, and Elscouta is going through to the semi-finals. Very strong performance here from him, using those very board-centric decks.
I would say that Elscouta plays really well. Sometimes he doesn't find the correct timing to switch from his board-centric like stance, right?
Yeah, you need that switch.
Yeah.
You need to be able to flick the switch and go aggressive, and then try and close out the game.
He kind of missed that opportunity twice, but he had proven that he is capable of doing really good decisions in the game, and I like his playstyle. You know,
I really liked his discipline on board as well. He showed a lot of discipline. He traded. He played safe. Like you said, he could have been aggressive in certain situations, but he knew when he needed to protect his taunts, and that was important.
Yeah, it's super important to know like when you have to play very safe, and he played super safe. Again, when he was ahead, he took like zero risk. He always like traded the board perfectly and made a great trade, and like never let his opponent a chance to come back into the game.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, great job, guys. Excellent series.
Oh, hi back.
Hey.
Welcome back,
It's had a very extended break. That was a very extended series that you guys handled excellently, but yeah, very long, drawn-out, control-based series, but series of kind of unexpected results, I think, in the end. We saw Priest defeating a control Warlock. We saw Anyfin Paladin getting Harrisoned and then just dominating the game afterwards.
Beat Druid as well.
Yeah, beating Druid. It was just crazy stuff. So
We talked about it for a long time, that those two matchups were favoring Lucky Shadow, and he lost both of them.
Right.
So it was really surprising to see that happen.
It was interesting as well because the Anyfin Paladin actually threw away Equality in his opening hand and then was lucky enough to draw it back. And if he hadn't have had that Pyro Equality early on, that double shade opening would have just destroyed him. So.
Yeah. But then the Palette Shredder mulligan away,
I know.
right?
I know, crazy series, just so much interesting stuff going on the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he showed a lot of potential with control decks, and it was one of his strengths going into that series overall. So I think very well played from Elscouta. He's really impressed me so far. Yeah,
hopefully we'll be getting an interview with him very shortly. But as you said, series very much based around control decks, and a couple of aggro decks trying to fight back against them, but definitely a slow-based series, long drawn-out games, multiple decisions. But looks like we're about ready to go with a interview. So if we'll just welcome Elscouta onto the desk.